Picture this. The lights in Chicago's Allstate Arena have just come up. Former AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter is in the ring, hand raised in victory after a brutal match. The crowd is roaring for her. And then everything goes black. The cheers die down, replaced by confused murmurs. This isn't just a power outage, it feels deliberate. Suddenly, a single, cold blue spotlight hits the top of the entrance ramp, cutting through the darkness. A figure is standing there, silhouetted. She's tall, athletic, and has an unnerving look of calm on her face. Nobody in wrestling has seen her before, but there's something chillingly familiar about her. The Titantron, which was dead just a second ago, flickers on. It's not a flashy entrance video. It's just two words in stark white text against a black screen. Arissa LeBrock. It takes a moment, but then a wave of recognition washes over the crowd. The family connection is impossible to miss. If a debut like that ever happened, the AEW women's division would be changed forever. This wouldn't be another model trying to play wrestler or a legacy kid just riding their family's coattails. What we'd be witnessing is a hostile takeover, carried out with a kind of brutal efficiency that could only come from one place. While Arissa LeBrock has not yet made an official AEW debut as of August 2025, her background and intensive training with legends like Dustin Rhodes paint a terrifying picture of what could be. This is the story of how Arissa LeBrock, the daughter of Hollywood's most infamous martial artist, Steven Seagal, could step out of a massive shadow to create her own, bringing a style of violence to wrestling that nobody would be ready for. Forget what you think you know about pro wrestling. Arissa LeBrock is here to deliver a painful correction. To understand the kind of predator that could walk down that ramp, you have to look at the world she came from. Arissa LeBrock is the daughter of two icons, Steven Seagal, the stoic 7th Dan Aikido black belt who brought a scary level of authenticity to his movie roles, and Kelly LeBrock, the supermodel and actress who was the dream girl of the 1980s. Arissa grew up where her father wasn't just a movie star. He was a legitimate and feared martial artist, famously being the first non-Japanese person to run an Aikido dojo in Japan. His philosophy was simple. Martial arts isn't a sport. It's about survival. While the world saw her on TV shows like Growing Up Supermodel, she was forging a different identity behind the scenes. Arissa started training in one of the toughest martial arts there is, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. At Paragon Jiu-Jitsu, it didn't matter that she was Hollywood royalty. On the mat, the only things that count are your skill and your will to dominate. That's where she started to build her own identity. Not in the choreographed movie fights of her dad, but in the raw, unglamorous world of live combat training. Her journey to the ring wasn't a straight line. She got a WWE tryout back in 2019, which was a huge opportunity. But then disaster struck. A major injury forced her to pull out, and it looked like the dream was over before it even started. For most people, that would have been the end. But for Arissa, it just made her tougher. The call that changed everything came from AEW's own Dustin Rhodes, a man who knows a thing or two about legacy. He saw a fighter with massive potential. So, Arissa packed up her life in California and moved to Austin, Texas, to train at his Rhodes Wrestling Academy, a gritty, no-nonsense gym where you have to earn your respect. Dustin would later say, "She's doing a great job, but this is only the beginning for her." Pretty soon, the whole world's going to be talking about Arissa LeBrock. He had no idea how right he might be. Now, let's go back to that hypothetical night in Chicago. Imagine Arissa LeBrock walking to the ring with a calm, deliberate stride. She isn't playing to the crowd or looking for cheers. Her eyes are locked on Jamie Hayter, a woman known for her hard-hitting powerhouse style. The bell rings, and what happens next isn't a wrestling match. It's a dissection. Hayter, who never backs down from a fight, would charge in with one of her famous clubbing forearms. But instead of bracing for the hit, Arissa would just blend with it. In one smooth motion, she could use an Aikido-style wrist lock to redirect Hayter's own momentum, sending her crashing face first into the turnbuckle. The crowd would go silent. You could almost hear the commentators trying to process what they just saw, with someone like Taz, who recognizes legitimacy, saying, "Whoa! That's that Seagal DNA right there. No wasted motion. That's scary calm." Every time Hayter would try to start her offense, she'd be met with a cold, calculated counter that used her own strength against her. A lariat attempt could be reversed into a brutal arm drag that flows right into a joint lock. When Hayter tried to power out, Arissa wouldn't panic. She'd just transition seamlessly into a standing Kimura, cranking on the shoulder with a sickening amount of pressure. We'd hear Hayter scream in real pain, something you rarely hear from the former champion. LeBrock's offense would be just as terrifying. Nothing flashy, just precise, efficient, and violent. She wouldn't be throwing wild punches. She'd be delivering pinpoint strikes to nerve clusters and pressure points. Short, sharp kicks would target the joints in Hayter's knees and ankles, designed not to pin, but to disable. The style would be a horrifying mix of her father's Aikido, fluid, efficient, and brutally effective, and her own ruthless Brazilian jiu-jitsu submission game. The end would come with a chilling sense of finality. After systematically taking Hayter apart, LeBrock would see her opening. As Hayter charged in one last time on pure instinct, Arissa would drop low for a single-leg takedown. But instead of a normal wrestling hold, she'd flow right onto Hayter's back and lock in a rear-naked choke. Hayter would fight it, but it would be useless. LeBrock would just squeeze, her face a mask of pure concentration. No yelling, no grimacing, just cold, analytical focus. Jamie Hayter wouldn't tap out, she'd pass out. The referee would have to call for the bell, ending what felt less like a match and more like a public execution. In this scenario, as the referee raised Arissa LeBrock's hand, she'd show zero emotion. No smile, no celebration. She'd just stare down at Jamie Hayter's unconscious body with the detached curiosity of a scientist who just finished an experiment. As the medical team rushed into the ring, LeBrock would simply step over Hayter, grab a microphone, and stand in the middle of the ring. The entire arena would be dead quiet. Her voice, low and steady, would cut through the silence. "For too long," she might say, "this division has celebrated fighting spirit. It has romanticized losing with honor. That era is over." She'd pause, letting the words hang in the air. "My name is Arissa LeBrock, and this is not a performance. This isn't sports entertainment. This is a correction." Then, she'd drop the mic and walk away, leaving everyone in shock and fear. In just 5 minutes, the entire AEW women's division would be turned upside down. The locker room, full of tough champions and contenders, would suddenly become a target list for a predator they can't possibly understand. How do you game plan for an opponent who doesn't wrestle like a wrestler? How do you scout someone whose entire style is built on martial arts designed for real-world violence? The potential matchups are mind-blowing. A technical master like Serena Deeb would be tested against a style that flows around traditional holds. A powerhouse like Chris Statlander would see her strength used against her. And a master of mind games like timeless Toni Storm would find herself face-to-face with an opponent who seems to have no persona at all. Just a chillingly real mission. Arissa LeBrock's debut wouldn't just be a win. It would expose a weak spot in modern pro wrestling. She could bring a style so grounded in brutal reality that it makes everything else look like a performance. Arissa LeBrock's potential debut is a declaration waiting to happen. She wouldn't just be stepping out of her father's shadow, she'd be weaponizing his legacy and unleashing it on an unsuspecting wrestling world. Based on her real-life training and heritage, her arrival would signal the beginning of a new, more dangerous era. The question isn't just who could beat Arissa LeBrock, but who could possibly survive her. Do you think this is what a debut from her would look like? And who on the AEW roster do you think could actually stand a chance against this terrifying new force? Let us know what you think in the comments. This could be a new chapter for the women's division, one written in violence, and we are all waiting to see if and when it begins.